Stephen King's Misery. We're back to it again. And it's 1990 film adaptation by Rob Reiner. Let's go through some moments there, shall we? Welcome. This is Check That Book, a special place where we get familiar with the most disturbing books ever written. And sometimes we take a look at their film adaptations, if they have any. And today's subject matter is, well, Stephen King. And one of his darkest works, I think, and closest to reality, in my not so humble opinion, Misery. You'd better remember the story of Annie and her obsession with a certain writer and what she does when he gets into her hands. Well, again, let's start with the typical difference between the novel and the film, that Annie's backstory is much more detailed in the novel. She is revealed to be a former nurse and a serial killer who murdered infants, elderly patients, and even her own family members. And in the films, well, Annie's backstory is very much simplified, in my opinion. It was mentioned that she was involved in deaths as a nurse, but her serial killings are not explored in depth. And that is a rather typical case of film adaptations. Of naturally, you cannot encompass everything. You cannot discuss every single character in as much of a depth as you can on the pages. But, some movies do a better job than the others. Let's continue with the character of Paul, the writer in the story. Well, his physical and psychological recovery is a long one. It's a lengthy process which uh, goes through the enforcement of painkillers, which Annie makes him take, whilst the film focuses on his suffering slash recovery, rather than on the actual addiction. In the book, we are informed that she makes him addicted to painkillers, and that kind of reminds me again that gives me Requiem for a Dream vibes. But yes, by the way, I've introduced you to the novel on this channel, and I also done my book versus movie. Check them out. Let's continue. We also have some bigger differences in the ending. The novel's ending differs from the one in the film. Specifically, it has to do with Annie and her, and both figuratively and literally. I can't help myself, I'm sorry. There is the moment in the novel. Paul writes the new Misery novel under duress, but burns a fake version of the manuscript to trick Annie. He keeps the real manuscript, which he later publishes, whilst in the film, Paul burns the only manuscript to kill Annie, losing the book forever. So, yes, that's one of the biggest differences. The film is well made, obviously. It is one of the better Stephen King adaptations, in my opinion. Of course, we can talk about The Shining. Um, yeah, it's been a very controversial one. The people love it. The author himself seems to hate it, and yeah, but this one, I think it's a very faithful adaptation, despite some key moments, like I mentioned, the ending, for example. But let's address the tone. The story goes deeper with Paul's psychological trauma and how he deals with his newly acquired addiction to drugs. But in the film, again, it's not that much in the focus, really. These themes are present, don't get me wrong, but the film shifts its focus to a different direction. The film focuses more on suspense and action, delivering a more straightforward thriller experience. Whilst in the novel, after mm, the end, so to speak, uh, Paul is haunted by his memories and he struggles to write again. And that, I think, symbolizes the long lasting scars of his ordeal with her. I speak as if you already know the story, right? If you don't, either read the book or watch the film. I recommend both. Or watch my first video on Stephen King's Misery, where I introduce you to the main concept of the story and what's it about. I really don't want to waste your time speaking about it again here and now. But what I would like to focus on, again, it's the Misery novels themselves. Because you see, uh, Paul's detailed thoughts about his Misery series, yes, he writes them, they're explored better, emphasizing his internal struggle with his identity as a writer. With that being said, yes, the novel focuses more on the internal struggles, and the film is, well, again, it's a thriller, oh, a horror, actually. Well, um, both versions are gripping, don't get me wrong. I recommend them both. They offer a unique experience. But yeah, the complex backstories are present in the written works, almost always. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like disturbing content, consider giving this video a boost in the form of an erect thumb and make sure to subscribe for more. Also, you know what this is, right? You do. I need to advertise this. Come on, you guys. Links will be in the description. This is my own work, Misanthropically Inclined, a poetry collection from a misanthropically inclined person, but an exhausted romantic. That's what I am. At least I think myself to be. Anyways, if you value a good quality hardback book with a well-made well-made everything, then check out the hardback version. And there's also a Kindle version available for you ebook lovers out there. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.